Você pode até não entender, mas você tem que respeitar.
It is scary, actually, to see how a person can allow themselves power strictly because of the body that they're in.
A gente ainda está muito atrasado com relação à comunidade trans.
The idea that a cis person could just pretend that life is just about their reality is detrimental. And it's also a dying situation.
And that's basically what it comes down to, is a level of empathy and respect, a lack of those things.
Eu acho que o ser humano ele é muito resistente ao que ele não entende, ao que parece diferente, ao que parece novo. E está na hora da gente melhorar. Hoje em dia, mais ou menos 2 milhões de americanos se reconhecem como transgêneros, ou seja, pessoas que não se identificam com o gênero com o qual elas nasceram. É verdade que, atualmente, a gente tem visto maior representatividade dessa comunidade na política, no cinema, na literatura, na mídia e assim por diante. Mas, por incrível que pareça, 75% do país alega que nunca interagiu com uma pessoa trans. Isso significa que a gente sabe muito pouco sobre essa comunidade e, na minha opinião, a melhor forma de realmente entender essas pessoas, de realmente se colocar no lugar dessas pessoas, é ouvindo, aprendendo, com respeito e com generosidade. Eu estou aqui em Bed-Stuy, no Brooklyn, para conhecer a Jodie Patterson, que é autora de alguns best-sellers, empreendedora e empresária, mas com certeza a grande vocação da vida dela é ser mãe. How long have you been here?
In Brooklyn or this house?
In Brooklyn.
So I grew up in Manhattan. I moved to Brooklyn. We moved to Brooklyn as a family in, I want to say like 10 years now. And then my third child just rocked me with a declaration that was, I'm not a girl, I'm a boy.
Mm-hmm. What was that like when she told you that?
He told me I am a boy.
I'm sorry.
No, it's like one of those things where I had to really rejigger my mouth to match my heart.
Yeah.
And then get my mind all together, because when my child at 3, Penelope, said, Mama, I'm not a girl, I'm a boy, it didn't come out of left field. There was like anger and tantrums and nail biting until bloody, bedwetting, reoccurring nightmares every night, the monsters coming to get me, refusal to dress, refusal to brush hair, refusal to brush teeth. So I thought, okay, maybe I'm a busy mom, maybe I forgot to love enough. So more hugs, more snuggles. Maybe I forgot to read enough bedtime stories. We did more reading. Maybe it's a dairy allergy. I don't know, like try everything that a mom would do. Change the diet, change the environment. But like nothing was changing the dynamic. So there was one summer day, I just picked Penelope up and went into a room and closed the door, and we sat down. And it was the first time I'd asked a question. What's wrong? Like, why are you so angry? You can tell me, like, what's really wrong, baby? Penelope said, well, because everyone thinks I'm a girl, and I'm not, I'm a boy. So I thought in that split second, oh, I have a lesbian. Or maybe a revolutionary. Like, you know, someone who just wants to be seen equal to the boys.
Yeah.
So I was like, if you want to be tough like your brothers, if you feel like your brothers, go ahead and act like your brothers. Mm-hmm. And that was like, I just didn't get it, because Penelope said, no, Mama, I don't feel like a boy. I am a boy. And that was like, oh. So I don't understand. I did not understand.
How long did it take you to understand?
Well, I'll say this, in that second, when Penelope said, Mama, can you help me? That was all I needed. So I said yes immediately, but the understanding of it took a long time because, you know, I was just raised, there's a man and there's a woman, there's a boy and there's a girl. You are one of two options, and that's predetermined. I knew that this world is really, it's dangerous to be different, and people are ugly to children who want to be themselves. I've seen it. And so what I decided to do is I would put myself in front of Penelope. So I never let Penelope into a room without me going into that room first. There was not a person he met without me meeting that person first. There was not a classroom, a teacher, or a karate class that I did not go to first. Like church, I'm a member of Abyssinian Baptist Church in Harlem, and I spoke to them and said, this is my family. These are our beliefs. My children are a mix of transgender, cisgender, genderqueer, straight. And in order for me to be a member, I need your acceptance of that. And they said, sure. So that was an exhausting practice. It paid off because I think Penel, who's now 13, Penel, didn't have the burden of the shit that people put on this trans identity. He just has the brilliant part of the trans identity. You know, that's a superpower. He's trans. That is his mojo.
I gotta ask, what's Penel like?
Oh, he's great. Penel is a student, graduated valedictorian. He identifies as an athlete. He's a great sibling. I think he's probably the least complicated right now of my kids. Like if we had messed up and didn't get this right, if we hadn't supported him, I wouldn't have seen this natural, chill kid. I would have probably seen a very angry, troubled kid. But because we got it right, his natural disposition is just like shining through right now.
What advice did you wish you had back then? Like, what would you say to parents that go through what you did go through?
I wish I had known the people in my world that were trans. The problem is that cisgender people, like myself, are afraid, and so we have made everyone else invisible. It would make me so angry in the beginning, and I'm not trans, and I was angry of the forced invisibility on trans people. Imagine what it would feel like to my son. I always say widen your friend group. If like your Facebook friends look just like you, you're not doing it right.
I love that. How important is it for us in a stage in which, you know, people think that we just need to learn how to read or write or do math, for us to actually grow in other ways as well?
Social emotional learning, right? It's fundamental. There is no subject when you're talking about identity, race, gender that is too advanced for kids. These are like key components to raising up children. Like, how do you see yourself in the world? How does the world see you? How do you move in the world? They're fundamental concepts that children are begging for, actually. When we keep these ideas from our kids, they are going elsewhere to try to solve those answers. And they're getting, you know, potentially get the wrong information. It's better to teach these things at home early. My dad, when he was raising us, my dad was raising 4 girls, and Mom wanted us to, you know, dress well, show up at church pretty, put a dress on, brush your hair, and we were like, we don't want to brush our hair, we want an afro. You know, we don't want to put a dress, we want to wear jeans. And he would say, leave the girls alone, they're born not to be pretty, they're born to be powerful. And that's what I want for my kids. I want power and freedom. Know your power and always search for freedom.
How long have you guys been here?
We've been here for about 3 years, but we've been in business since 2007.
Can you show me around a little bit?
Sure. So this historically has been our resource center where we had computers for our community members to use for trainings and to work on their resumes.
So what is all this food that I see everywhere?
So we, our community has been dealing with food insecurity for many, many years. And when the pandemic started, things really got worse for us. So we saw that that was a community need. So we have begun to distribute nutritional services to our clients. So we get orders twice a month, and we distribute to over 150 families.
So people can count on you, even though quite often they can't count on anyone else in order to eat.
Yes, definitely. They know that all our services are free of charge, and we want to make sure that some other nutritional needs are met. This is one of our counseling rooms right here, and we provide HIV testing to our clients. This is our gender-neutral bathroom. Historically, bathrooms have been a place of danger for our community. We have been kicked out, sometimes assaulted, or even arrested for using the bathroom of our choice that goes in line with our gender identity. So here we want to make sure that we have spaces that really, encourage our community to live their authentic self.
Trans people have always existed, but unfortunately, this community has been marginalized and quite often not accepted by their own families, by their own parents, grandparents. Do you feel like a place like this, in a way, works as a second family, works as a place where they can feel welcomed and nurtured and loved?
Definitely, especially when we work with individuals that are recent arrivals in the U.S. A lot of times they have been harmed by their families back home, and we become their new family of choice.
¿Ya ha enfrentado violencia?
Bueno, yo acabo de venir hace 4 meses de Perú porque sufrí un ataque de discriminación, porque me atacaron, me quisieron matar, entonces...
¿Y la organización está ayudando?
Sí, la organización me ayudó, sí, traslatina bastante ahora con los estudios porque me pagan por estudiar y nos regalan unas metrocard para que no gastemos. En los 4 meses ya voy por el segundo curso, que este mes lo acabo y voy a seguir estudiando.
How important are organizations like this one? Do you feel like places like these can save lives in a way?
Oh yes, it could. It's been totally different. And people that I know that you don't reach out and they don't have help or in an organization to teach them certain things, they tend to hurt themselves and commit suicide.
Do you know people that have had these thoughts? Have you had any of these thoughts yourself?
Yes, because when you walk on the road, people would take a brick and hit you, and they would pelt you and do all kinds of crazy things. It's like you cannot be who you are. So you have a feeling that, this is who I am and I cannot be accepted. That why am I even living for? You call upon God and you say, God is not here. I mean, it's not like you're committing a crime. It's like who you are and you want to express yourself out there.
We are a blessing to our family. We have so much to give. We have so much love to provide. We have a purpose in this world. We're contributing to the quality of life of many. And so I don't see that as a deficit or a liability. I see that as a strength, as a quality. And so when somebody shares with me that they have a trans relative or a trans child, I see that as a blessing and I congratulate them for that.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Pedro. Gracias. Thank you so much.
Nova York é uma cidade cheia de histórias, né? Eu olho em volta e fico imaginando os personagens que por aqui passaram. E é impossível falar da luta, da resistência da comunidade trans sem mencionar o Stonewall. Por incrível que pareça, ser gay era ilegal aqui em Nova York e em outras cidades também. Em 1969, a polícia local foi dar a periódica batida, sempre aqui nesse bar gay, e de certa forma ganhar uma grana. E os gays e as transexuais que estavam ali dentro decidiram resistir pela primeira vez. Então, saíram no tapa com os policiais, reivindicando mesmo, né, respeito, dignidade, direito. Essa história durou alguns dias e ficou conhecida como os protestos, né, de Stonewall. Um ano depois, houve uma comemoração homenageando as pessoas que resistiram naquele dia. E assim nasceu o orgulho gay, o Gay Pride. Aqui você tem uma imagem, uma foto daquela noite, ali também. Eu digo que é impossível falar da luta, da evolução dos direitos da comunidade transexual sem mencionar Stonewall, porque as duas vozes de liderança durante esses protestos foram duas mulheres transgênero, a Sylvia Rivera e uma mulher chamada Marsha P. Johnson. A Marsha P. Johnson, na época, ela era sem teto, ela teve que se prostituir por falta de oportunidade e ainda assim ela virou um símbolo dessa coragem. Na época, a polícia local, que tinha ódio dela, disse que ela cometeu suicídio, mas depois de uma longa investigação a gente descobriu que ela, na verdade, foi assassinada. E é interessante pensar que, quando você olha para trás, né, a história ela não acontece por acaso. Ela acontece porque pessoas como a Marsha P. Johnson fizeram algumas escolhas, tiveram certas atitudes. Então a gente deve muito a gente como ela.
The trans community has came a lot further than it did 30 years ago. 30 years ago, we were called she-males, transformers. The movement has brought so much glow to New York, the riots. Marsha P. Johnson, I was there the night she got murdered, and it was a tragedy, but she's there in that figurine there to look at us and say how proud we walk the world, so happy.
New York is the #1 place that embraces transgenders, queens, drag queens, gay people, whatever you are. New York is #1, LA is #2, and Miami is #3. If a girl can't make it in one of these cities, there's something wrong with her, honey. Yes. Okay. I am Miss Simone of the West Village guys.
Well, I think you're wonderful.
Thank you, darling. Thank you. Thank you, guys.
I love your work.
Thank you so much.
I really do. How did fashion come into your life? Did you always want to be a designer?
Yes.
Always.
Yeah, no, sometimes I'm like, I want to like adjust that answer a little bit and make it seem like a little more nuanced, but no, ever since I was a kid, I wanted to be a fashion designer. There wasn't a specific moment that I had where I was like, oh yeah, that's it. But it was really more of just like a way that I found that I could make sense of my world. And like kind of collage a bunch of stuff together and make something that was like purely my creation and kind of like form my own person.
Where are we right now?
We are in the Outlier design studio. So I'm the design director for Outlier, and then this is where we make shit happen.
We hear a lot about the importance of investing on Black-owned businesses, Asian-owned businesses. How important is it to invest in trans-owned businesses?
It's a really tricky subject because if a product is not good just because it comes from X, it's just not it's not an accurate assessment of whether something is valuable or not valuable.
But you, yourself, you're really invested in supporting your community. You use a lot of queer models. You work with a lot of members of the trans community. So you do it very consciously.
This is my life. These are the people I surround myself with. So, and I'm just happening to use trans people of color because those are my friends. And it's not, I think a lot of the times it's not that deep. I think of this, I'm like, are you a good model? Cool, come work with me. I don't look at qualifiers.
How hard is it as a designer and as a trans woman to design for a market that for the most part views men clothes different from women?
Oh, for sure. You know, I always kind of bought into that argument that like women's wear exists because of women's bodies. Men's wear exists because of men's bodies, but like that's assuming that there is a universal standard on what a woman's body is and what a man's body is. The point I'm at now is like men's wear, women's wear. I'm like, whatever you want to, whatever you need to call it, that's what it is.
When were you in contact with your transness for the first time?
You know, there's flashes of it throughout my whole life. There's a lot of times that I think if I was born today, I would have come out, I would have been trans from the day I was born, you know? Most of my friends were and are of trans experience before I was public about my transness. And seeing them live and seeing them just live as human beings and not as trans human beings really instilled a deep confidence in me, and that is really the power of community. Is this passive observation of people living their life and people's existence giving you power to live in your existence.
What would you have said? What type of tip or advice do you think your younger self would have benefited from?
I wish that someone told me when I was a kid that everything is made up. And when I say that, everything is made up. Humans created everything that we assign value to or that we use to give ourselves gender or beauty standards or all of it. And what I would have really benefited from is knowing how much of our world is manufactured by mankind. We need to just get out of this habit of being so comfortable to giving in to what has been prescribed to us. And that takes courage. You know, it takes a willingness to be wrong, to learn. It takes deep humanity to kind of look outside of what we know is duh. I think if we kind of follow the cardinal rule, my cardinal rule, which is when someone tells you who they are, believe them, I think we would be in a lot better if we just believed people when they said, this is my experience, this is who I am, take it.
Always keep me waiting. You never come on time.
Cheers. Where were you born?
I was born in Hershey, Pennsylvania.
When did you come to New York?
I moved here for college, for acting school.
Yeah.
And then I was able to dive into drag when I was in college. And I was working at several nightclubs and bars. And I thought that being able to do something that would be more in touch with who I really am and expressing that would, in the LGBTQ plus community, be more accepted right away, you know, just like with no questions asked. But I found that that wasn't the case. I said, okay, I'm not going to like say I'm come out as trans and say, here's my new name, here's my new situation, and sort of separate the two. I'm going to use my drag and slowly just turn my drag persona into a trans woman. You know, they are doing drag. I was celebrated. I would do a song and do what I wanted, and people would clap and they would throw money. Whereas, you know, being a trans woman, no one was doing that. And I was able to start my medical transition and all of the things that one might associate with being trans. I was able to do that under the cover of my drag protection.
As a trans woman, how tough is it to find love?
It is, for me, it's extremely tough. Unfortunately, no one is seeing us as a viable partner for them. Men who are attracted to femininity and women in general, and who are attracted to trans women, are not feeling empowered to explore whatever that means. And if they are, it's only sort of strictly sexual.
In Brazil, one of the top 4 searches when it comes to pornography is trans women. However, Brazil is number 1, it's the leader in murders of trans women. So no one can tell me that these two things are not related. The guilt that, for whatever reason, people feel make them act aggressively, recklessly.
I know what it is. Men care more what other men think than how they're treating women.
Or how they feel.
Than how they feel, which is even moreover. And so it is really difficult as a trans woman to be able to explore partnership in the way that other people do, dating and partnership, because it's so dangerous. And what's worse is that the people who are supposed to be taking care of us, killing us. And it's not even like they want to kill us. I don't think they're like born and saying, I'm gonna go get with a trans woman so that I can kill her. It's that they would rather kill us than have anyone else know that they're with us.
One thing that I've noticed is that some people feel the right to judge trans women or trans men based on the medical aspect of the transition. I'd love to know what you think about that.
The reason why many trans people have surgeries is to protect themselves from being discriminated against and persecuted by people who are not trans. Because people who are not trans feel that they are the judges to decide on, oh, are you a woman? Oh, you look like a woman to me. Okay, then I'll treat you like a woman. I'll respect your name. But if I don't think you look like the way I think you should look, then I won't respect it. And that's basically what it comes down to.
An electric evening. Thank you so much for all.
So you're the first trans woman to be a lead on Broadway. You're successful, you're beautiful, you seem complete, happy. Unfortunately, when we talk about the trans community, a lot of girls are not as fortunate. Like, they can't find jobs outside sex work or the beauty industry. Not that there is anything wrong with either, but not by option. They're women filled with potential, they're multi-layered, smart women. What needs to change?
I think one of the things that people can do, action items that are achievable, hiring trans folks, because sometimes this cycle is self-perpetuating. A person who's queer gets kicked out of their house, and now what are they going to do about their education? Because they're no longer at their home, and now they're out on the street, and they have to earn money or live, find food. So now they're doing things that they normally might not have done to survive, if they hadn't been kicked out of the house. And now they are suddenly engaged in sex work. And then a lot of people, not all sex workers, but a lot of people are exposed to violence and substance abuse, drugs and alcohol at a fair to say, a rate that is higher than maybe had they not been out on the street. And so it's a terrible cycle. Nowhere along the line does that provide space to learn about a new trade, to get apply for a fancy job, to try to get on Broadway or TV, or grow your skills as a performer. Nowhere in that pathway is that an option. And so it's heartbreaking to me. I also considered sex work. Before doing RuPaul's Drag Race, I was at a point where I was barely paying the bills. I can't pay my rent, let alone the taxi bill. And I was at that crossroads where I was like, okay, what I'm doing now just barely pays the bills. If I'm going to start a medical transition, I need to come up with some money from somewhere. So I guess I'm going to have to hit the street. At the same time, I was trying to consider whether or not I was going to go into RuPaul's Drag Race, and I was, auditioning, and I was really not open on my audition tape about being trans, because the atmosphere around and the opinions about trans women, even on Drag Race, were not as welcoming as I would have liked, to say the least.
Absolutely.
And so I really didn't see doing Drag Race or anything else as a real option,
But you did, and
I did.
And you were amazing.
I did well.
Amazing.
Thank you.
One last question. Why peppermint?
It's my favorite candy. It's my favorite candy.
Amazing. I love it too. Assim como o hip hop, como a arte de rua, como o ar-condicionado e o cachorro-quente, os bailes de voguing nasceram aqui em Nova York. A palavra voguing vem graças à inspiração das modelos, que posavam para a revista Vogue. No início dos anos 20, homens brancos se reuniam em apartamentos de luxo em Manhattan e desfilavam. Eles competiam para ver quem tinha a melhor pose, quem tinha a melhor roupa, quem tinha o melhor andar, por exemplo. Mas por ser um evento super segregado, a gente viu membros latinos e negros da comunidade LGBT se juntarem para lançarem a versão deles desses bailes. Mas a relevância desses bailes é muito maior do que parece. Nos anos 60, 70, 80, esses lugares viraram um santuário para pessoas que eram rejeitadas pela sociedade, que eram ignoradas no ambiente de trabalho, que eram expulsas pelas próprias famílias, que não eram aceitas nas suas cidades. Elas vinham para esses bailes exatamente para conhecer outras pessoas como elas. E é aí que a gente tem uma ideia exata da importância da comunidade transexual nessa cultura. Geralmente, nesses lugares, você encontrava pessoas, frequentemente transexuais, que abriam suas portas, que abriam suas casas para acolher, para receber outras pessoas que tinham passado pelas mesmas dificuldades que elas haviam passado. Ou seja, você tinha uma figura materna, que era conhecida como mãe, ou aqui nos Estados Unidos, mother, e as pessoas que estavam ali naquela casa eram sisters, eram irmãs. Então, se não fosse essa comunidade transexual, essa cultura não existiria. E é por isso que eu estou aqui no Brooklyn, um dos berços desses bailes de voguing, exatamente para conferir um lugar que já está aqui há muito tempo, mas continua vibrante, lotado, jovem e eu diria que relevante para essa comunidade.
The house ballroom scene is a group of creative, talented individuals that deal with the same issues in society when it comes to how we present ourselves. So we come together in this space and, you know, we display what the world would not allow us to display. You know what I'm saying? You know, the norms of society don't apply in this space, right? So we meet here, we compete, we, you know, encourage those who are singing, dancing, voguing, walking runway. It's the epitome of what a safe space is, ballroom. When I found out that there was a subculture in the LGBTQ scene, I was excited because I wanted to still dance. And, you know, I wanted to wear those, you know, crazy outfits on a one night only, and to see that there was a space to do that while I'm still 30 and it's accepted and I don't look like a fool. That was, you know, everything. You know, it's like gay pride every week. This is community. I know your name. I know your genesis. I know when you started. I saw, you know, the hardships that you had to go through to get to the point where you're at. You know, that's what really pulled me into the ballroom scene myself, right? Me coming from the shelter system and me not, you know, not wanting to be forgotten, and me wanting to have a space where, you know, I can just come and be me and nobody's, you know, judging me because, you know, I decided to wear pink with this jersey.
I love the fashion, I love the performances, I love the high energy. It just gives me so much life. I just love it.
Every single time I come, I always feel like such a beautiful energy. I'm never thinking about like anything negative that's going on in my life. It's always such a beautiful distraction and like a break from reality.
The ballroom is very refreshing for me because of the energy, the community, and then each other's support to each other. So I literally have sisters and brothers can help me out to each ball. So I really appreciate that.
I think that's the great thing about, you know, the ballroom scene. You know, like anybody can come, literally. It doesn't matter if we have straight people. You know what I'm saying? That's ballroom is for everybody. We just want to make sure that everybody understood that it was started by Black, queer, trans women. You know what I'm saying? It doesn't mean it's exclusive to us, right? But, you know, just acknowledging the fact that it was started by us.
Eu acho que muita gente não entende que ser trans não é uma escolha. A verdade é que todo mundo quer ser aceito, quer abraçar a própria realidade, a própria verdade, quer se olhar no espelho com orgulho.
I feel excited about life in a way that I haven't previously felt.
For many people, it's a tough conversation. For me, it's literally like celebrating the best parts of my family. I'm like, my kid's got an A, my kid's trans.
I think it's going to take society understanding to a point where they can respect and support people who are non-binary.
É importante ter humildade para ouvir, para aprender, para perguntar, para se interessar por essas pessoas, pela realidade delas. No final das contas, o mundo é o que é porque a gente é diferente. Esse mundo ia ser um saco se todo mundo pensasse igual, se todo mundo sentisse igual, se todo mundo acreditasse nas mesmas coisas. Então, abraçar essas nossas diferenças, abraçar essa nossa autenticidade, respeitar a verdade do outro é fundamental. E acredite, não é só bom para o outro, é bom para você também.
It just does not sit well with me that Pinnell's teachers aren't trans. Pinnell's authors of books aren't trans. Pinnell's historical references aren't trans. And then it doesn't sit well with me because I understand Pinnell to be a part of the world. And I'm not seeing him reflected in the world. And if I use my brain, I know that doesn't make sense. It means that someone has kept it out of visibility. Pinnell's not the only trans person in the world.